Have you ever just felt that need to kind of disappear? Not in some big dramatic way, but to just quietly pull back without any announcement. Well, today we're going to talk about what actually happens when you do that. And spoiler, this isn't about being absent. It's about a massive personal shift. It's about the art of disappearing so you can finally find yourself again.
So let's just sit with this for a second. When you stop being available, everything changes. It's such a simple sentence, isn't it? But man, it holds an entire universe of transformation. The second you stop being on for everyone all the time, the whole world around you, your whole life, starts to rearrange itself. And you start to see truths you probably weren't supposed to see before. All right, so let's start at the beginning, with the cost of being available. And let's be real, most of us have lived here, right? You're answering every text in seconds. You're taking every single call. You're saying yes when every single part of you is just screaming no. It feels like you're just getting a good friend or a good person. But being always on like that, well, it comes with a hidden and very heavy price.
So you got to ask yourself this question. Why? Why are you always available? And it's a real question, one that's worth pausing on. What was the real motivation for being that person, the one everyone could count on for anything, at any time? It's easy to just write it off as, oh, I'm just a kind person. But what if something deeper was going on?
And here it is, the motivation so often wasn't love. It was fear. A deep down fear of being forgotten, a fear of being replaced, a fear of someone calling you selfish. It's this core belief that your availability is what makes you valuable. That if you stop being constantly useful, you would just stop being valued at all. And this is the result. This is such a powerful way to put it. You become emotionally bankrupt. Just think about that. You're handing out pieces of yourself like they're free samples at a grocery store, hoping someone will finally taste one and tell you it's amazing, that you're enough, that you can stop giving yourself away now. Okay, so if being always on leads to total emotional burnout, what's the alternative? This is the big turning point, a concept called the art of subtraction. And I love this, because it's not about adding new habits or trying to become some new you. It's the exact opposite. It's about discovering who you've always been by just removing all the noise. And this is the absolute key to the whole thing. Your true self isn't something you have to build from scratch. It's already there. It's just buried. It's buried underneath all the noise and that constant need to be needed and that twitchy compulsion to reply to every single message. You just have to clear away all that clutter to find what's been there the whole time. And this comparison just lays it out so perfectly. Look at the old way. Dancing for everyone else's comfort, basically being a product for other people to consume, always reacting. Now, look at the new way, protecting your own peace, being a whole person, returning to your center. It's a huge shift from performance to pure presence. Of course, a change this big doesn't happen in a nice, neat little bubble. When you stop being so available, masks start to fall off. Not just other people's, but your own too. And this right here is where the real work and, let's be honest, the real discomfort begins.
And you can practically set your watch to how people react. First, they're confused. Hey, you okay? You seem distant. Then, when that doesn't work, they try to guilt you. You've changed. But what's really being exposed is just how much they relied on the old you. And here's the hardest part to accept. Most of them don't miss you. They miss the convenience you provided. They miss your free emotional labor.
And here's the twist. This journey isn't just about them. All that pushback from the outside is really just a mirror for the struggle that's going on inside. It forces you to look right at that part of yourself that got a little buzz from being needed, the part that was maybe kind of addicted to being the hero in everybody else's story. So to make sense of all this, we're going to bring in a real heavyweight, the psychologist Carl Jung. His ideas give us this incredible, powerful framework for understanding this deeply personal and often really difficult process of coming back to yourself. And this quote, wow, it just gets right to the heart of it all. Loneliness does not come from being alone, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you. Think about that for a second. The real loneliness you felt, it wasn't when you were by yourself. It was when you were in a crowd, constantly betraying yourself by staying quiet about what you really needed. Jung actually had a name for this. He called it the individuation process. It sounds complicated, but it just means the journey of becoming a true individual, whole and separate from the demands of everyone else. And look, it's not about becoming a hermit forever. It's about stepping away from the noise of the crowd just long enough to finally hear your own voice clearly. Okay, So we've walked through the pushback from others, the struggle inside yourself, and we have this amazing framework from Jung. And yeah, it sounds messy and it sounds lonely, and it can be. So, what's on the other side? What's the reward for all that hard work? Let's dive into what you get when you reclaim your presence and start becoming fully yourself.
And just look at this incredible shift in values. What they valued in you was your usefulness, your convenience. But what you learned to value in yourself is your authenticity, your clarity. Your presence stops being a 24/7 public service and becomes something sacred, something you offer intentionally.
So what's the actual payoff? Well, you finally make room for depth and peace in your life. You start building relationships based on mutual respect, not one-sided need. Your words, your very presence start to have more weight. And it's that old saying, right? Scarcity creates value. By pulling back, you finally learn to value yourself.
And all of this brings us to the final, most important question of all. After you've stripped away all the roles you play for other people, all the expectations you manage, all the performances, when no one is asking you to be anything for them, who are you? And that's not an ending, that's the beginning. That's the person you finally get to meet.